Welcome to a realm where personal growth meets expansive spirituality and where we're not just scratching the surface. We're diving deep, widening our perspectives, and having a darn good time doing it. This is the Enlightened Podcast, and I am your host, Jen Hamilton. You'll enjoy an infusion of motivation, empowerment, and inspiration that will resonate in every aspect of your life. Expect captivating stories, heartfelt musings, and my own personal experiences. But that's not all. I'm bringing awe-inspiring individuals to the table, so get ready to meet some remarkable souls whose wisdom and stories will leave you spellbound. No topic is off limits here. Brace yourself for raw authenticity, unfiltered vulnerability, and yes, the occasional splash of explicit language. We're delving into the realms of the esoteric, mystical, and the woo-woo, unafraid to explore the extraordinary. So if you are ready to venture beyond the surface, to explore the depths of your soul, and to awaken the magic of life, if your heart says yes, then hit that play button and let the Enlightened Podcast guide you on this remarkable expedition. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Enlightened Podcast. I'm your host, Jen, and today my guest is Paul Marwood. Paul is the founder of the Solutions Meditation, co-founder of the Universal Sphere, and 4 other next-generation soul activations. Paul has been an international teacher and guide of his modalities and the Akashic Records for over 12 years, living his life through the more unlimited aspect of his heart. His focus is to support conscious leaders, visionaries, and everyday people to consciously access the unified field. His vision is to make this consciousness more easily available to everyone by using guided meditations. These rapidly shift your consciousness and awareness outside the box, transforming your life with practical solutions and possibilities that you never thought were possible. Paul and I had the most incredible conversation. It's something that opened my eyes, and we really got to dive into topics that we are both so wildly passionate about. And I know you're absolutely going to love this episode. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hello, Paul, and welcome to the Enlightened Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Hi, Jen. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to be here.
It's going to be an amazing conversation that we get to have. And also we have a very special thing at the end of the episode, which is going to be a live meditation, which I'm excited for because not only, do our audience get to receive it, but I get to receive it as well. So I'm excited for that. Paul, you're a life coach, you're a life guide and coach. Tell us all about the magic that you do in this world.
Well, it's interesting. I used to be an engineer, so I was one of these left-brain people, in the one sort of regular world, one might say, regular life. And really a big life event changed me, really pushed me onto the spiritual path. And so ever since then, that was in 2002, now I'm really focused on being able to not only learn and grow and change myself. The inner journey is like the best journey and the most amazing journey any of us could ever have. But then to help others do the same, and so many of my clients come to me and say, especially with the Akashic record readings, is what is my life purpose? So I love being able to help people connect with our inner guidance, empower them, and help them really tap into their soul purpose. And then there's a deeper level of fulfillment as we kind of go along that path, as opposed to kind of feeling a little bit aimless. What am I here to do? What am I meant to do? Try a bit of this. No, that doesn't work. Try a bit of that. No, it doesn't work. Instead, let this beautiful guidance from our inner hearts guide us to the right thing at the right time. And we don't pinball so much. We just have amazing experience after amazing experience. And so that's the piece I love. And the thing that really gives me so much joy is getting the feedback from our clients. Oh, I did this and this and such happened. Or you just hear the feedback from how their lives are starting to blossom, compared to potentially what it was before, and it's like it's the best because, when you get to, and this too, Jen, when you get to that place where you're just in service and I just want to be able to help others and help others be in a better place. At the same time, I'm learning the whole time myself. So I've got coaches, mentors, and my non-physical guides. So I'm also on the journey, one might say.
I do love a good existential crisis to bring us round to this point and this journey of remembrance of who we are and why the fuck we're here too. That's definitely been like, one of the biggest questions on my mind, I guess, in the last few years is what the fuck and why the fuck?
And I love that bluntness too, because where I'm at the point in my life, it's like, don't mess around, don't pussyfoot, don't, make it all nice and fluffy. Just get to the point and let's just do it.
Yeah, that's it. Paul, you mentioned the Akashic Records. I'm familiar with the Akashic Records. I've used it in past life regression therapy. I have the most beautiful tarot set called the Akashic Tarot, and it's my favorite tarot to use. For those out there listening that are like, what on earth are they talking about? Can you please tell us about the Akashic Records, what they are, what they hold, what they do?
With pleasure. Great question. Well, the Akash is a field, and it's a field that records everything. So you and I, Jen, and everyone, and all the animals, and would you believe houses, businesses, things, groups, things like that also have Akashic records. It's you and I learn stuff in this lifetime, and then as we transition, we might think, oh, that's the end, it's all lost. No, nothing's ever lost. It's all stored in this beautiful field. And so one could say it's like the library of our soul. It has various names, the book or books of knowledge, books of wisdom. So the Akashic records is a way that you and I can tap into the wisdom of our soul. We tap into our Akashic records. And the beauty about that is that we can start to, this really is our birthright, but unfortunately we've really only been more easily accessible to this in more recent times. I say recent times, maybe the last 200 years. Before then, it was possible, but just a little more challenging for everybody. Now everybody can tap into the Akashic records. It's what a beautiful way to tap into the wisdom of your soul. When you and I have challenges or questions in this lifetime, we can go into our Akashic records and tap into that wisdom, and maybe the influence that's influencing us is something to do with our childhood, but it could also be something that's in a past life. And sure, we can go to a great psychiatrist or psychologist and they can do all of their magic, but people can spend years in therapy and not have success simply because the psychiatrist or psychologist doesn't have the tools to go outside of this lifetime. You and I, as we know, we can go beyond this lifetime into past lives and potential future lives as well, to tap into, why do I feel this way? Why do I act this way? Why do I react this way? Or if you're going future, how can I tap into that advice, guidance? And what a beautiful way to get, information that's valid for you, for me, for the person, whoever it is, right there, right now. That's really unique for them in a practical sense. Whenever we go to an expert, the expert's going to tell you, me, them, the information, but it's filtered through them. And based on their knowledge, whereas when you tap into your Akashic records, you're really getting the guidance for you from your soul to help you in incredible ways right here, right now. And it's practical, even though we're kind of dealing with one might say, an esoteric field, but it's still very practical.
Absolutely. One of the things that I experienced when I had a past life regression done when I was doing my training in past life regression therapy was going into the Akashic records. And it for me, like the visualization that I went through was like going into just this grand library of books. And it was almost like there was a book for each lifetime. And I was guided to take down the book of this lifetime and just open up to the page. And when it opened up, this beautiful like golden light just came like out, and I was able to just connect with this page and see it and then read it and feel it. And it was like, what am I here to do? And I remember one of the things that was in there was like, break the rules and show other people how to do the same. And that just resonated so deeply with me. I was like, yes, like I love this, like that. I feel that on, such a deep inner level. And it's interesting because I mean, I love playing in the esoteric space. I love playing in metaphysical. I love playing in woo woo. I love working with, guides, with ancestors, angels. I love psychic readings. I love working with the tarot. Like all of that speaks to me. And I've also been curious as to whether underneath the love of all of that, is there perhaps almost like a fear, like the fear of ambiguity, not knowing what is next and then desiring answers in order to feel safe. Where are you at with that? Tell me about that.
It's interesting because so when you ask that question, Jen, are you here or are you here?
I'm sorry, my head wants the answers, Paul. My heart just doesn't even get a look in. Like, it's like my head's like, oh, we got to know
I
this
know.
stuff. We need safety in this world in order to survive.
Yeah.
Like,
And you nailed it with that answer. When we ask those questions, you're in your head. The head is this place of fear. Your mind is here to protect the physicality. It's about keeping us safe, so nothing goes wrong, so to speak. So yeah, you're spot on. I'm better at being here in the heart, in this place of trust. But don't get me wrong, being sort of an ex-engineer, of course, analytical and back up in the head from time to time, So, but I think, again, I would suggest this for the audience, where are you? Check in for where you are. You're much better off being in your heart than in your mind. Your heart's tapped into so much more infiniteness, so much more possibilities. That is where, as you just said in your life purpose about, breaking the rules and cutting loose and, bringing the new through. How do we create a new world and a whole new way of being unless we break the rules and create the new? Someone's got to lead the way. We do the same old, same old. How can we expect anything different? And look at the world over the thousands of years. Have we done a really good job? Not really, So we've got to change things, mix it up a bit. So I think for me, I'm more trusting these days. Yes, I still have my moments of worry, just human like the rest of you, but I'm much more trusting. And it's interesting too, because different things come forward in our journey. Again, when we tap into this and the more unlimited piece of this, like me, my guides are teaching me this stuff about the solution meditations. And part of that, which we'll do later on in this interview, is about tapping into a more unlimited. And so as we tap into more unlimited, we can bring solutions into our lives that we haven't had before. Now, the reason why I bring this up in answer to your question is because, when you get practiced in this, when we get to a moment of challenge or a moment where we're doubting or a moment we're unsure, with tools like, to say, the solution meditation, there's just many ways we can do this. I'm in this place of complete trust. I know solutions are going to happen and I expect it. And then literally within 24 hours, solutions are appearing, answers, whatever it may be. The universe is going, yes, because it says yes to everything. So if we're worrying and the universe says, yes, I'm going to give you something more to worry about, and if you're doing the WTF moment, the universe goes, yes, let me give you a few WTF moments to WTF about, So it's whatever we put our conscious focus on, we attract more of. And I wish I could help everyone out there just to really get that, because so many people are worrying and they don't realize they're creating more worry. The universe lovingly says yes to all of us. It's not cruel. It's just yes, So it's a very long-winded answer to your question, but I'm mostly here, and I just use my solution meditations to bring me solutions, and then I move forward from there with a place of excitement, literally waking up in the morning going, I wonder what cool thing is going to happen today,
Yeah. And I think it comes down to that inner balance of the masculine and feminine. We've got the masculine mind and the feminine heart. And, for me as, a solo part-time mum, business owner, podcast host, like literally like the queen of the house, like I've got my queendom, I do all of the things except mow my lawns. I get someone to come and mow my lawns. Like I'm driven mostly by my masculine, and I get that opportunity to drop into the feminine. And I notice that that's when the heart space comes in, and that's where the trust and the flow comes in. But then it's the masculine mind that says, oh, we need direction, we need certainty, we need safety. And so I think it's really about having that balance and allowing ourselves to be in the masculine when we need to be in the masculine, because I love my mind. I love my analytical Virgo sun mind that wants to have the answers, that, may potentially have this fear of ambiguity. And that's okay, because it's kept me safe and will continue to keep me safe. And the more I love on it, the less I make it wrong. But then it's also, you know, an invitation for that feminine to come forward, that heart to come through and be like, actually, we can be heart led. You know, we don't have to have all the answers. In fact, the mystery is so much fun and really pleasurable and really, really joyful. And I think it's about finding that
Yeah.
balance.
You know, you really nailed it there, Jen. You know, the future where we're going, you know, it's been, you know, I'm a big proponent of the rise of the divine feminine. You know, you ladies are way more powerful. The divine feminine is way more powerful than the divine masculine, despite what people may have said in the past. And, you know, it is all about finding that balance. Each of us has the masculine and feminine in us. And where we go in the future is us living our lives with that beautiful balance. You know, it's bringing that back into check again, rather than the domination and the being in our mind and being in our ego, which you and I both know didn't really work particularly well, made a bit of a mess of things. Look at the world right now. And, you know, but also it puts us in that place of separation. When you look at the higher realms, they all work together collectively. They're individuals and they have individual consciousness, but they work together. And it's in this beautiful, you know, you ladies are so good at working, co-creating, supporting, nurturing, you know, and that is a really important place. When you look at the world right now, we need all of that big time. And we need
Right?
to come together and help each other, you know, instead of the separation of the us and them, you know, philosophy, which is really, you know, get rid of that. And so, you know, that's the beautiful, you really nailed it, because, you know, again, same with myself. I'm just like you. I find this balance of the masculine and the feminine, and allow myself to be nurturing of myself, nurturing of others, finding, tapping into the love, growing the self-love, because how can you give love or receive love unless you know the love within yourself? You can never receive something if you don't have it within you, you know? So, and
Mm.
likewise, you know, with partners and things like that, you know, if we in children, you know, if you're giving from an empty, it kind of has a different feel. It doesn't work so well. But when you fill yourself up and you're
Mhm.
giving from the overflow, it's beautiful, you know, and they respond accordingly. So the beautiful thing, I think, of us going forwards, and you're a beautiful example of us, you know, leading the way in the new way of how we need to do things, is be in that place where we need to be masculine here and need to be feminine here. And we can just flow and move between those two places as we need to. And that makes us so much more multifaceted, which is who we really are when you think about it. You know, as this beautiful divine soul having a human experience, we are unlimited. So why would you want to just be in one space, you know? So, you know, bugger that.
Yeah. I feel like I want to get on like Earth's PA system and be like, hello, is this thing on? Hi, can we drop the patriarchy bullshit, please? And can we just have the feminine rise? And can all men please just understand the balance of the masculine, feminine? Thank you,
Yes.
over and out. Like,
No, you need, unfortunately, you probably need a few 4B2s to smack a few of the men across the head to go, come on, wake up, dude. You know, because we need more than
oh,
just an announcement. You know, the tap on the shoulders are not loud enough for most of us, but we're getting there.
I I feel as though, like, this is going to get deep. Let's go there. I feel as though my role has been as a feminine in partnership, in monogamous partnership with men. Who I be in partnership with men has called men forward. So this feminine shows up in their life and I embody that feminine. They're drawn to me because they're like, oh, whoa, she's like a woman, right? And I bring them in and then I allow them to explore the parts of their masculine, explore the parts of their feminine. It's like my femininity draws them in. They're so wildly attracted to it. But then they hit a ceiling and they're like, oh, no, it's too much feels. I don't know how to break past my own bullshit. Oh, and then they run. I mean, Paul, this is probably not something I want to put out there, but I feel like I'm an advocate for men to go and find their forever homes after they've been with me, because I'll wake something up within them and then they're like, oh, I've got to go do my growth work now. I'm done. I mean, I really want to stop attracting that. But if that's my job, then that's what I'm here to do, you know, until I'm not. Um, but it's almost like in my view of the world, there's a shortage of men that understand their divinity, that understand their masculinity and the feminine, and that they have within them their masculinity to hold the feminine so that the feminine can rise and be all that she needs to be and be so wildly supported by the masculine. Because I'm sorry, but we're fucking done having to do the masculine role
Right.
as well. Where are all the divine masculines?
Mhm.
Hello.
Wakey, wakey. I can relate to you, but of course from the flip side, because I'm an Enneagram 3, which is all about the to-do list. So I'm a very much achiever. I've got to get this done. And so doing that, emotions get in the way. So I've got to push the emotions down, get out of the way. I've got things to do. And so that was the past piece of me. So I'll explain a little bit more in a second. But, my previous marriage, in a way, one of the contributing factors, it failed because I wasn't tapping into my emotions. I wasn't allowing and sharing, what does Paul feel right now? What does he need? What does he desire? What does he want? And of course, when you do that and you tap into it and you give that and share that with your partner, she then has the information to make new decisions, or not, but at least she has new information. It's part of that co-creative. Now I'm in a relationship with this most incredible woman who's very successful. She is a very certified Tantra teacher, but not the sex orgy Tantra teacher. She's this esoteric, Tantra teacher. So she embodies this great wisdom. She embodies the ability the communication we have is off the charts. We can talk about anything. She's just so clear, so blunt, so open, but has the maturity, the emotional maturity that we can just talk freely. And what a beautiful way, as you say, because then likewise, she has her feminine moments and I can hold her, keep her safe. I can be the rock. She feels she can let go, and she does. And then other times, the wisdom comes through, but then in a level of the relationship is so much deeper. I've had books on this sort of material for years, and one would say it's almost been a dream of mine to get there, and suddenly I'm here. And it's way better than I could even have imagined, because the deepness in the connection is just so profoundly beautiful, because you're now moving into the mind, body, soul. You're tapping in at the energetic level, you're tapping in at the soulic level, and the knowingness and the safety is beautiful, and so the physical experience is even more profoundly beautiful because it's supported by that. And coming back to what you said before, I was the same thing. I didn't have the emotions. It was like, you know, thank goodness something happened in my life where something just clicked inside my head. Literally, I went from no crying for years and years and couldn't even cry if I wanted to bawling my eyes out 2 hours a day, pretty much every day for months. Like, it just let loose. And I was worried. I was a little afraid on that piece too, because geez, what's going on? I was embraced it, and I thought, this is good, because this is all that emotion of 50 odd years, all pent up and now letting loose like the volcano. And it was great. And I thought I was an angry person. I always thought I was one of these little, angry bees. No, actually the anger was because all the pent up emotion, when you let it all out and you let yourself share, and you just, especially if you can share it in the moment, then I don't carry any anger in me. I'm not that person. I'm this beautiful, loving person. So, it's wonderful how we go on our journey. We learn stuff and then we change and we go, whoa, wow, this is so much better.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's about doing the work in the process. I want to ask about your partner, but I also want to hold integrity around her privacy as well. So you're very welcome to reject the question. I'm very curious as to whether she was in the fullest expression of herself, the way she is with you now, before you came along.
Only she can answer that, honestly. My guess is maybe not, and the reason why I say that, so the honest answer is I don't know. My makeup, as I would say, is that when we are in a relationship where we're safe and we can clearly communicate, and the other person can move like we move, spiritual, physical, emotional, all of that, then we can really bloom. and really allow that to come into our fullness. You know, if I'm, and I'll speak for myself rather than for her in an answer to your question, if I'm in a relationship with someone who's closed down in a way, you know, we'll take the men are good at not being emotional, like you just said. It's hard to be in your fullness because how do you express yourself when they can't relate to it? You know,
And they can't
they
hold you
can't
in that.
hold you in that.
Yeah.
You know, we can
Yeah.
sit down and have a big cry together, you know, or not.
Mm.
You know, it's being able to be in that space, but also being able to explore, support, and be powerful. Because there's a doing. You know, you got two entrepreneurs here, so you know that you can relate to it. You know, we need to do stuff. We need to build our business. We need to reach out to people. We need to teach. You know, so there's a masculine doing,
Mm.
but it's nice to have the feeling and bring the feeling. So when I talk to you, I can talk to you from my heart rather than from my head.
I'd love to share from my feminine perspective what I truly believe within myself and what the collective rising feminine needs. And then I would love to hear from you, Paul, what you can speak into from this side of the masculine. Like,
Let's
let's
do it.
go there. From my perspective as an awakening woman, the deepest desire to have the masculine men do the work. And it's so cliche, like do the work, right? But the work is in doing the emotional work. It's understanding that they can bridge that gap that's going on, you know, within them, you know, that they can find safety. And I feel as though it is part of our role as the feminine, the rising feminine, to take that lead, to hold the masculine as they're doing that. However, we also need them to be in this space to hold us while we're out doing our work and raising the consciousness of humanity. You know, we are doing so much work. We're gathering in sacred circles. You know, we're not being burnt at the stake for it anymore. We're doing the inner work. We're working through our witch wounds. We're coming together. We're collaborating. We're connecting. We're no longer in competition anymore. We're working together, but we just need to be fucking held. We need to be seen and we need to be honored, because at the end of the day, we can't do it all. And there's a lot of us looking around going, where are the men? Because we're vibrating at this new caliber. And there's a limited amount of masculine because they're still stuck in their shadows, rocking back and forth, going, don't let the tears out. You know, and yes, there are so many men doing the work, and I fucking honor them so deeply for the men that, whether they're, you know, sitting up and spewing their guts in an ayahuasca ceremony, whether they're doing breath work, whether they're doing tantric practices, whether they're having conversations with their fathers or their mothers or, you know, ex-partners to start to heal within, or whether they're journaling, or whether they're just going, oh, okay, I'm having a feeling and I'm safe to be in this feeling, whether they're doing the inner child work. It doesn't matter what they're doing, as long as they know that the magic is in the doing of the something, because that is what we see. That is what we need in order for us to keep rising and ushering this new way of being. We need support. Yes, we have sisterhood. Yes, we have each other. There is nothing quite like being a feminine, falling into the arms of a masculine, him holding you and saying, I've got you. I've got this. There is nothing quite like it as a feminine. And you know, as women, we can do it all. Do we want to do it all? No, we fucking don't.
Right.
No, we don't. We are tired. We have given birth to babies. We have given birth to businesses where we're literally out there helping hundreds and thousands of people wake up. You know, we're planting seeds in the earth. You know, we're teaching people, we're downloading wisdom, we're tapping into our wombs, and we are bringing wisdom through. And it's tiring. I don't want to get to the end of my life and be like, well, that was a hard slog. I'm not coming back to earth again. Like, if that's what it's like, I'm done. You know, and so we're on our knees begging almost the men, whilst holding space for them, to be like, please come on. Like, you can do this. We've got you. You know, we've got you the whole way. Please just go there, because you know, you are living proof of this. You do the work, you step into that other side. Yes, it's going to sting, but on the other side of that is so much beauty and so much love. Like, I can only imagine the connection that you have with your partner for stepping into this, you know, from going from an engineer, like, you know, it is quite a masculine role, you know, doing that, and then to stepping in and being able to get on a podcast and do this heart work and meditation and holding spaces for people to go inwards into the Akashic Records. Like, I'm just celebrating you and honoring you so much, Paul, for doing this. And thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
You know, what you've just described to me is exactly how I see it, exactly how I understand it, you know, and as you just said, the feminine is coming together, growing, doing incredible things, but you know, it's a lot easier and a lot better if you can have a rest, you know, where the man can just hold you in his masculinity, say, I got you, babe. You know, it's okay. I got this, you know. And there are times you need to be able to take a rest and just feel nurtured and just feel supported and just feel safe. And you can have that rest, and then you can, you know, go back to your groups and power on again, and then, you know, teach people. But we can't all just be full on the whole time. We need to have that space. And I think the other important piece too is the woman hasn't been recognized. The woman hasn't been appreciated, you know, in the past. And so, you know, it's always the man up here and the woman down here, and that's really sad. And so it is about us men changing ourselves first, finding how incredible it is when we, get out of our shit and get into a connection with ourselves. And then, wow, you know, you suddenly realize that we're looking at the rainbow and you're only seeing 2 or 3 colors of the rainbow. As soon as you get into yourself and you start to do that inner work, holy moly, there's 20 colors either side. I'm missing out on that. Okay, let's go. And then, oh, there's more still to come. So I will say this, though, you know, unfortunately, because it really is the rise of the divine feminine, and you ladies doing such an incredible job of that. But understand this, though, that, and this is an excuse, you know, there is a reason why the men are lagging, because we are so entrenched in our masculine. We don't quite know how to start to go to the masculine feminine piece, which is where your role comes in as the teachers, as the wisdom to help us get there. You know, I'm in Mankind Project. For those of you that don't know Mankind Project, it's worldwide. It's groups of men all around the place. You come together in complete support of each other at a deep level, you know, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. We do the work, as we would say. We help each other at deep emotional levels. Really powerful stuff that helps this process, like you're talking about, Jen. You know, and of course, I'm in that other levels of connecting myself with deep inner work. I was at a breathwork event just, you know, literally just over a month ago. That was profoundly powerful. You know, I love connecting with more people in this area, but we're going to lag you. That's the challenge that you've got at this moment. The men are in the lag. They're starting to wake up, but there's always going to be this lag because we're a little entrenched in our masculine and we don't quite know how to go down the feminine path. And sometimes when we do, just like the pendulum, we swing a little too much the other way. Too emotional, too feminine. We haven't found that middle ground yet. And then, of course, you ladies don't want us there because we become too needy. You're like, geez, I've got to look after kids. I've got to look after life. I've got to look after business. I don't have to look after a man as well. Geez, you know, come on, dude, you know, get your shit together. But the pieces that we're in the pendulum is still swung the other way. We're doing our best. We're a little bit too emotional, too needy and feminine. And then we will swing back into the power of who we are. It's just part of the physics of nature. You know, the pendulum does do that. The same with the woman. You know, in the woman's loop type times, the woman came through powerful, but they came through in the masculine energy, and that didn't really work either. You know, because you're a feminine. You know, you're better off stepping into the power of the feminine in her femininity. You know, you are the wisdom. The women are meant to lead things. You know, we shouldn't have men in the governments, honestly. You know, sure, a few, but honestly, it should be the women leading the planet. We wouldn't have all of the mess that we have right now if you women, because look at how well you co-create, how you work together, how you know, you're far more nurturing. We need that. We don't need ego, backdoor deals, you know, military, let's shoot things and blow things up type things. Dudes, wake up.
We need awakened women. There's a very big difference between like vagina owners, the, the anatomical women, because they're quite heavily in their masculine. I wouldn't say that they're an embodied feminine. That the ones that are in government, like, I mean, that's a different topic right there. Paul, what do the men need from us feminine? What can we do? Because we want to be there, we want to support them, we want to help them be all they can be, but unless they're actually tapped into it, they don't know. What can we do? Because there's millions of us there going, we're ready for you. What can we do?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, I can only answer from my perspective, but I have been in that sort of piece of not connecting to my emotions. I think the most part is try and be the lighthouse, be the shining light to say, hey guys, if you step forward into the things I can suggest, look at how good it is. We all get attracted to something that's yummy. So it's to try and make that carrot in front of the donkey type thing, shine the light to attract us to the light. The challenge that you have is that if a man's not ready to do that, he's not. You're kind of just beating your head up against a wall, and you can try, and then it just creates more of a separation, because it's like no, and as you said, they kind of run away. But I know in our humanness, if there's something enticing, something exciting, we can get drawn to that. So, without putting the pressure on, I think the pressure, again, in some way can turn us back into our masculine, and we can hold up the walls and fight back, because masculine's good at putting up the walls and pushing back. You push me, I'll push you, but it's in that, oh wow, that looks really amazing. I wonder if that will work for me. That curiosity, that so I think that's the best way you can support us.
I love that. What would you say, for the men listening, or, the woman listening that sort of, wants to slide this podcast her man's way, the men that are deeply in their masculine and want to do the work, that want to learn how to, move from their heart and, tap into something greater and all the things that we've been talking about, where do you suggest they
Well, thank
start?
you. I think that's a beautiful question. Guys out there, I've been both. I had my own engineering company. I was focused on building my business, building the money, building my portfolio of my homes, making lots of money, getting that all in place. So I had a good retirement, and I was focused. But I was also not that satisfied. Life was fairly boring, I would encourage you. I've seen both sides of the coin, and I'll tell you now with 1,000,000% certainty, go and do the inner work. Let yourself go. This bullshit about not being able to cry is bullshit. As soon as you let yourself feel your emotions are energy in motion. Let that energy flow. You will open up and become the most incredible man. I promise you. And everyone, including your partner, will love you for it, because it allows you to experience life in a so much better way. My experience of life now is profoundly beautiful. And I'm no less of a man, and so, but I get to do more dances, have more experiences, open up to more. I don't form judgments. I have an opinion, but then I'm open to new information. And so as soon as you do that, you're not locked in. Don't ever lock yourself in. Open yourself up. Look up Mankind Project. Go and do the work there. Go and connect with other men that are opening up. Then you can be with your masculine, be in that support, but also open up at the same time. And then your woman are going to love you for it.
And this is the thing, Paul, like as a feminine, we so deeply desire safety. And what happens when we experience safety is we open. We open physically, we open, spiritually, emotionally, because we know that we're so held. And through that opening, let's talk about physical intimacy. A woman's body will naturally open further and further the more safe and held she is. The minute that, uncertainty or unsafety comes in, like, bang, it's closed. You can tell by, having, sexual relations with someone, just how open they are to receiving or feeling safe. Like, it's science, bitches. Like, so, for the women out there listening to this, notice within your body, if you open really naturally with your partner during lovemaking, if your body's responding to them in a way that you feel so safe with them, you will know you'll have a better experience. Like, I'm talking seeing God at the peak of an orgasm, right? And for some people that don't understand what that means, that's an invitation to learn what that means, to discover what that means. Because if you want to have an awakening through sexual experiences, you're going to want to be safe. You're going to want to be held. To any men listening to this, if you want to experience the woman in her fullest, wildest, primal expression, then be that safety for her. Be that strong masculine. Hold her, grab her, allow her to just open wide up, and it will blow your freaking mind.
Yes, yes, and yes. I can testify to that. Yes.
And at the end of the day, like, we're here for pleasure as well. Like, in this human body, we get to experience so much pleasure. And it's not just even sexual pleasure I'm talking about anymore. All of our senses get to be delighted. And our life force is eros. It is erotic pleasure, whether it's through tasting certain foods, hearing certain music that just makes you move a certain way, touching certain things. Like, it's all a feast for us. It's all a feast for the senses. And then when we add that in addition to, co-creating pleasure with a partner, it is next level. I mean, if the men are wondering why they do the work, do it for the orgasms, bro.
Well, I can testify to exactly what you're saying. And the amazing thing is you can actually combine all of that. You can be in this beautiful, safe space, have some beautiful scents coming up, some beautiful aromas, burning some scents, or, you can have some beautiful music flowing. You can do this beautiful, even before you do massage, you're doing a sensory, sensual connection. You can spend moments before you even do that and just looking into each other's eyes and connecting and inviting in what you wish to have in the relationship in that space. Create that beautiful bubble of the amazingness and the desires before you've even started. And then you're smelling the scents, you're feeling all your whole body, all of the different things, different, because different sensual experiences. And then you can move to the lovemaking and be able to expand even from there. And like you say, it's mind blowing at many levels, because you're now combining the mind, body, and the soul. And there's an energy in that as well, and the whole piece of that, and it's so profoundly beautiful. The best I can say is it's profoundly beautiful, because, and you get to share it with a partner is even better. You can to a degree, self pleasure in that piece, but if you get to share with a partner, you get the combining of the yin and the yang and those energies, and it's just off the charts.
It is. And this is what the world needs. Like, could you imagine if everyone just had, like, connection on that deep level, that had that integrated masculine, feminine, that just held each other, that just danced and played through life together? We wouldn't have wars overseas. We wouldn't have all of the stuff that's going on in the world at the moment. And I truly believe that we'll get there. Like, I hold that in my heart, because it's my deepest desire. I don't know about in my lifetime. Maybe it will. Maybe I'm an amplification of that desire, and that's what I want to bring forward in the world. Like it's just it's who we get to be, and if we decide that that's who I'm going to be, that's who we be, and that's the magic that we can then bring to this world. And it's so different. Like I look back on my life 10, 20 years ago. I had no freaking clue about any of this stuff now, and it's taken time to do the work. Like, it's not just, you don't just read a book, or I mean, you can just listen to this podcast and you'll be wide awake. But like, it's, you don't just do one ice bath or one ayahuasca ceremony or have one, beautiful tantric session or something and you're awake. It is a journey. It is an opening. It's an ever evolving journey. And I see it like, the beautiful flowers, the pink peonies. I imagine that in my heart. And I imagine like the tiniest bulb that it has, and then it opens and then it keeps opening. And just when you think it's completed its opening, it opens some more. And that is what is going on in our hearts. And for women, that is what's going on in our yonis. Like, that is what's going on in our minds. Like, if we can just come home to ourselves, come home to our bodies, come home to our desires, come home to our heart space, this world would just,
and it flows on, because when you're then going out into your day, you can look into your partner's eyes, you can be connected at a beautiful level, you can feel that support. So as you move into the rest of the things in your day, you can carry that connection, carry that energy, be in that deeper support, and then be excited about the coming together again, so send little tantalizing messages to each other throughout the day, so the dance doesn't need to stop. You can keep it going and be in that beautiful support, beautiful connection. If you look, even the book of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which so many people have already read, there's a whole chapter devoted to sexual transmutation. The transmutation, bringing up that the powerful sexual energy and bringing it up to higher realms to help both masculine and feminine to be in this more creative, open, spontaneous, powerful space. So exactly what you're talking about is that happening.
I always think that life in general is foreplay in between each session of lovemaking, like. And so it should be, your day to day should be foreplay, to bring you to that, that divine connection in between. Oh gosh, we could talk about this stuff all day. It's such a beautiful space to be in, because like, when you realize that you can access all of this, and you can do it solo too. 100% you can do it solo. There's plenty of, practices and ceremonies and things that you can do to cultivate that on your own. And I do recommend, from my perspective as a feminine, for women to tap into that if they don't have that, that divine masculine partner to have that connection with, or to have that play space with. Then get in touch with what it is that and you want for yourself, and what it is that you desire, and how you receive pleasure. Because sometimes, like, a beautiful man might come along and you'll have to teach him as well. Like, he can't just come preloaded knowing what it is that you need and what it is that you desire. You're not his ex. You get to plan that space together.
You just to add to what you said is, we attract like, vibration attracts like. So again, if you don't have that partner, when you're doing that work on yourself, when you're allowing yourself to explore, doing the work to open up your yoni, allow yourself to heal, allow yourself to find that deeper love within. And then as you really learn to love yourself, then your vibration changes. And then, as the laws of the universe about like vibration attracts like, then you are in a better place to attract that like vibration. It's hard for us to be in a place of the lack and say, oh, I just want this perfect man in my life. But if that perfect man stepped into your life, if you weren't able to hold that vibration, then you couldn't sustain that manifestation. You know what I mean?
Yes. And this is the work that I do with women. It's uncovering all of those pieces that hold them back from deeply knowing themselves and their desires. And on the other side of that is true liberation. liberated to be in the fullest expression of their feminine, whilst also growing and continuing to learn, for themselves. The name of this podcast is called Enlightened, because it's not about being enlightened at all. I always think like enlightened is like, okay, we're done, game over, I know it all, we're here to experience life along the way. And so it's an uncovering journey. Like it's layers. We're just big, delicious, juicy onions, really. There's plenty of layers to get through, but the whole idea is to be on that journey of uncovering. And I've worked with so many women that have started the journey and have started really diving into deeply who they are and what it is that they desire. And sometimes the masculine that they've been with may fall away because they're not on the journey as well. And
Yeah,
that is
I
okay.
hear you. I'm the same as you, being a intuitive life purpose coach, helping both the men and the women in this space and help them to grow, connect, find that deepness within and feel safe and feel nurtured, and sometimes it's great to have the feminine teacher and sometimes it's great to have the masculine teacher, for both male and female, because we can have that, that wisdom from that aspect, to help support us. And, again, for me, it's all about really high integrity, being in that beautiful, safe space, because how can you, unless I create a safe space, how can my client just open up, feel safe to start to explore new things, and so that's really important. And I think we all need coaches too. I have multiple coaches, we need that. That takes us to that next level.
Yes. And to, realize that coaches are human as well. I've definitely had experiences where people have put me on a pedestal. I'm like, no, 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 no. You don't look up to me. You look across to me. I'm still human as well. There's no separation. And actually, I want to go here with you because one of the things, when I interview coaches, I'll generally ask them, like, tell me about the shit that you're working through right now. Like, let's humanize ourselves here. Paul, what's something that you're working through on a personal level at the moment?
If we want to get real deep and personal. So yesterday, as a perfect example, both my beautiful partner and I saw my mum yesterday, and she made this comment as well. I said, what, are you okay? You're kind of a bit withdrawn and, that side of things. So I went and did meditation this morning, because I will not make that mistake again in my life where I'm disconnected to my emotions. Especially if the feminine can see something in me, there's something I need to look at more closely. I've missed it. I will look in more, so there I am, doing some deep meditation this morning and asking questions and getting my answers. And, there's an interesting piece because, when you really start to go into that deep, loving connection, you start to open up. And as most of us, so I'm 55 years old. I've had I've been married twice. And in our lives, there is a place of hurt that happens in that, in previous relationships, in whatever form those relationships are. And then when you start to go deep and you really connect to that beautiful love that I'm experiencing now, that real pure love, you go, whoa, I'm opening up now. But then sometimes some of that pain of what happened before starts to come up, and you go, well, I don't want to get hurt. I really want to explore and open up even more and go even more deeply. But that's where sometimes that masculine comes up. It's like, I don't want to get hurt again, so where am I in that space? I'm here and not here, and so it's finding the answers, getting clear on that, and then going back down again. And the beautiful thing that I've already had a conversation with my partner this morning to do with this, and a beautiful sharing, and again, this is where it comes to that space of being able to share. It's in the sharing of the emotions that she has new information. It's a sharing in her emotional maturity and her power to be also, in this case, supportive back. It's okay. It's okay, babe. You don't need to be worried about that. We can work through this together. And so, there's that moment of me being, in the masculine, but still in afraid. But then working through that, I can move through that more quickly, more easily, and come back into my power again. So that's that's what I'm actually working with right now, is being able to be in an even deeper level of vulnerability and purity in this true level of love. And while the past pain comes up a bit, be careful, you've been hurt before. It's okay. That was then. There's no indications now that any of that will happen. So that's just a pace of, that's, one would say, baggage. You release it.
Yeah. Yeah. I resonate with that really deeply. One of the things that, and thank you for sharing, thank you for your vulnerability. One of the things I'm working through at the moment is quite similar, is past pain, being in relation with a masculine for a number of years and having those arms to fall into and being told, I've got you, and then having the rug pulled and going through a separation this year and questioning everything that not only towards him, but the masculine in general, but then also my wounded self who's experienced abandonment and rejection continually through life, as we all have to some degree. It doesn't have to be in relationship. It can be in jobs. It can be in friendship circles. It can be in anything. And it's those deeper wounds that then sort of get ripped open again. And it's all like it just comes flooding out again. And for me, it's just noticing where I'm starting to, relate to new men that are coming into my life. Am I coming from a place of, desiring to grow with someone, or am I just trying to band-aid this fear of abandonment or the wound of prior rejection so that it doesn't sting as much anymore? But then also being really cautious to step into something because, not knowing whether that's going to happen again. And do I have the capacity to hold myself through, yet another abandonment? And so really just doing the work on that. And the biggest thing that I keep coming back to is how can I love myself even deeper through this? Because I can't expect someone else to provide that for me. They're never going to be able to. A masculine can hold space for me and provide, provide all of the space for love, but he can't give me the love that I need to give myself. That is mine and mine alone. That is my connection to self. That is my connection to the divine and my journey of life to move through, whilst being in, my dominant masculine side, having to hold all of the moving parts of life together at the same time. And so I show up in just whatever it is at that time. And I'm going to have experiences where I'm like, oh, fuck, I've done it again. Or what am I doing? Or no. We're not even, fuck men, we're not even relating with them anymore because I'm just going to get hurt. Of course I'm going to feel that. But the magic is going, do you know what? I'm just going to so deeply love on that wounded part of myself, because there's nothing worse than rejecting an already rejected part of yourself. That is where the magic is. And that's what I'm personally working
Jen,
on.
thanks for sharing that. It's what would you say is your takeaway in this piece in helping yourself move forward in a more, because I was just going to add a few comments, but I just want to ask you that question first.
Just to continue going inwards and loving myself through it, like loving myself so deeply and accepting all parts of myself. I always say to anyone that comes into my field, all parts are welcome. And I would be out of integrity if I said it to other people and I didn't say it to myself. So just deeply loving all parts of me and just being aware of it, sitting with those emotions, sitting with the anger, the frustration, the abandonment, the rejection, being in that and just going, wow, this fucking sucks, but it's okay. I'm not going to implode. The world's not going to implode. No one's going to die from this. Sure, it stings, but I'm okay to be in these feelings. I'm okay to feel this. In fact, the more I sit with it, oh, okay, yeah, I'm more okay with it. And that's what the inner work is understanding that, you've got these feelings and emotions, and creating that safety within to feel them, because there's so many people that in this world, sadly, that bypass that, and that turns into addiction for some people. That they're chasing something to just numb out the pain of what it is that they don't want to experience. People go, through a whole lifetime addicted, it could be to a substance, it could be to shopping, it could be to porn, whatever it is, because they just don't want to sit with their feelings. But what we know to be true, Paul, is when you sit with your feelings, you'll realize like how quickly you can start to move through them. Like 4 minutes even. Sit with the feeling, let it be there, let it fully be in its expression of what it needs to be. And it starts to dissolve, because the longer you keep it in the shadows, the more it's going to fester, and the more it's then going to have a metaphysical experience on your body. Let's look at disease and cancers and autoimmune things. Like, I think there's something going on underneath that. I've got a beautiful textbook called Metaphysical Anatomy. For every single ailment I come across, I'm like, oh, what's the emotion connected with this?
What a beautiful answer. Honestly, that really is a beautiful answer. And I would encourage anyone, all of us, when we're in those challenging moments, we've been hurt, whatever it may be, I think as part of it's all about the journey, but to be able to gain the wisdom from that experience, but be excited about moving forward. Now look at how strong I am. I was able to deal with that, tap into the strength of you, me, all of us, that we make our way through that. So acknowledge the strength of what we have. And we now have new information, new awareness, because it all comes down to awareness. But then in that self-love, self-worth, go forward again with even more excitement to the next adventure, but your eyes are
and not taking those wounds with you. Don't take that baggage in. Like, it's not someone else's problem, that stepping into a new dynamic or a new relationship. I like to leave all of those past things healed before I come into it. So I'm not going, well, just because you've got a penis, I'm naturally not going to trust you, because the last person with the penis hurt me.
I hear you. But also I think part of the healing is emotions are energy in motion. We need to express it, whether it's in a women's group, with your partner, in a safe space with a coach. We need to express it, so that the psyche can come to terms with it. It can release it. My guides have shown me that part of our problem as humans, we manifest experiences because we're divine beings. The experience is an experience. We get to feel it and experience it and go through it, good, bad, or otherwise. And the universe doesn't have a good or bad. We polarize things, but it's simply an experience. But then we hang on to it, especially the trauma. We hang on to those traumas. And so we carry it in our energy field as baggage, and it keeps affecting us. But as we allow ourselves to express, vent, cry, yell, beat the pillow, just let it out, express it, express why I'm hurt, why this person hurt me, why I feel the way I feel, and allow ourselves to just and then stuff comes up when we express it that we weren't even aware of. And that again adds to the awareness. But the important piece is to let it go, release that trauma, that hurt. Okay, I felt it. Now when I go forward, I can have some awareness, but it doesn't hold me back. I'm wiser today than I was yesterday, but I'm more excited. And as you said, that's important to heal some of those pieces so that it doesn't hold you back. And that's where the importance of that work for yourself, with your coach, with your partner, whatever it may be, or all three,
Oh gosh, I could talk to you for hours about this. This has been so incredibly inspiring on so many levels, Paul. Let's touch quickly on the
Certainly.
book that you have co-authored.
I was drawn to the name Soul Love. I'm part of my soul purpose in this lifetime is to embody really deep love, deep unconditional love. And so the word soul love, all my work is all about soul, who I am. And so soul love, the two perfect words for it. It's a beautiful book, 12 authors, we share a story about what's changed, what a beautiful moment in our lives where we went through a big change, a big growth, a big realization. A perfect book, honestly, for someone who wants to read something that's inspiring just before you go to bed, because the chapters are relatively short, say 10 pages long, and you can read something just before you go to bed, and some you will relate to and some you won't, but it's a beautiful, inspiring story of how we've changed that can, you'll relate to it and go, yeah, I love the story. I can see this in myself. I can see this in my life. And it gives me some tools that this person used to help them move forward, and I can use them to help me move forward, So it's beautiful in that respect, and that's what I think is it's the core piece of this book, and soul love. The thing is all about our soul journey. You said beautifully, Jen, about it's about the journey, and so for us to help each other, someone's going to relate to my story, someone's going to relate to one of the other authors' stories, and that's perfect because you get those gems to help the reader move forward in beautiful ways. It's a number one bestseller in 6 countries, so it's doing well for itself, and but that those numbers mean nothing. The thing that really means is to help someone else. So someone's journey, someone's wisdom that they gain through that moment, if it can help someone else, that's all that's important. Okay.
How do we get our
There's
hands
a
on the book?
link which I'll give you to. It's available on Amazon if you just do a search for Soul Love. But unfortunately, I wouldn't highly recommend that because there's tons of things that come up on Soul Love. So, Jen, if you make the link available, and I'll send that to you. It's easily available in many, many countries. It's on Amazon. You can buy a paperback and Kindle, so whichever you prefer. It's called Soul Love. You can also in Amazon do a search for Paul Marwood as an author, and I'll come up, and the book will come up that way as well. And I highly encourage it. It's so inexpensive for the joy and the knowledge that you can gain from something like that, and it's all about helping you.
I love that, and yes, we'll definitely link to that in the show notes. Solutions meditation. All right, okay. So get comfortable.
Solution meditation, I just want to reframe the audience a little bit for a second here just before we start, because it's kind of a doing meditation rather than it's kind of being zoned out, nothing. So we're going to do a solution meditation. Most of us have some challenge in our life that we need some solutions for. Okay, we're not quite sure the answer, etc. So my guides have been teaching this for about 8 months now, and I've done the experiences myself. I now have a solutions journal now because stuff's coming up literally every day. It's so incredible, so I have to write it down. So what you need to do, think about something that you have a challenge with in your life that you need some help with, need some solutions. Okay. Now, think about the ideal result. So what is the ideal result? Give no energy to the problem or the challenge. Go to the ideal result, the ideal end result, and now included emotions. So it's like you're living it, because our body doesn't know the difference between what we imagine and what's real. And so you're making it real. So imagine the end experience, okay, in its ideal form, but tapping into the emotions. So say someone's just looking for a new job, and they want to improve their job, whatever it may be, you feel joy, you feel excited to go to work in the morning. So you're including emotions of excitement. You feel appreciated because your coworkers appreciate you. You're feeling, you've got more options, more empowered because you're receiving more money. You can now spend money on a holiday that you couldn't before. All those sorts of things, whatever it is that you need help, include those emotions. And when we get to that section, I'll guide everyone through this meditation. So this is where it's a little bit active. I want you to live that ideal end experience like you already have it yesterday, today, you're already there. Okay, include all the emotions, right? Now, the theory behind all of this is, for those people who want to have this piece here as well, I'm taking you to the unified field, the field of infinite possibilities. So as humans, we spend too much in the masculine. Here's a problem, here's the solution, here are the steps. Bam, put a box around it, super limited, almost pathetic. The universe we live in is unlimited. It really is. So let's wake up, let's connect to the universe in its entirety and live our life from this more open perspective, just like you and I've talked today, Jen, about how incredible life can be, relationships can be, sex can be, all of that as we open up to more. So This is a living example of that. So you want to tap into your ideal end result. We're going to go to the field of infinite possibilities. When you hang around fit people, you're more inspired to get fit. When you hang around rich people, you're more inspired to make yourself affluent. Hang around infinite possibilities, you start to manifest and bring them into your life. Ready?
Okay, so I'm going to close my eyes.
Get your body nice and comfortable. Take a nice deep breath in. And as you breathe in, draw some beautiful bright light into yourself. Remember, you are this great being of light having a human experience. So as you bring in the light, connect to the light, feel the light, see the light in whichever way works for you, you're bringing yourself in more connection with who you are as this beautiful divine being, this great being of light. And as you breathe out, let any of the worries, concerns, that stuff of the mind, let it go out with the out breath. Let it go further away and get smaller and smaller and smaller. Take another nice deep breath in. Bring more beautiful bright light into yourself. Expand the light of you out. Allow yourself as this great being of light to become more radiant, more expansive. Bring that in. And let that beautiful lightness of you expand. And as you breathe out again, let those worries and concerns go out with the out breath and get smaller and smaller. Bring your focus now to the place of your heart. As you allow yourself to start to be aware, you could be imagining connecting with your heart chakra. As you bring your awareness now to your heart, let yourself be in that beautiful space of just tapping into this beautiful piece of you, your heart, and this one would say loving aspect. Your heart doesn't know limitation. It's a beautiful place of you. And at the same time, allow yourself to just, with your eyes closed, imagine looking up at the night sky. Allow yourself to see these millions and billions and trillions of stars. And if you're aware of all of the wonderful combinations of people and places and animals and plants and gemstones and rocks and weather and everything on our beautiful planet, can you imagine all of the incredible variations of creation in these trillions of planets, in all of these forms? And that's just taking into account the physical that we see. And then from this place of your heart, know that there's so much more than that. There's all of the dimensional aspects too. So just from your heart, reach up to the universe. Allow yourself to feel the beautiful vibration of the universe. Allow yourself literally to move into the universe. Take this beautiful breath in, and as you breathe in, allow yourself to expand as you breathe out. Expand the light of you. Go into the universe. Allow yourself to be completely surrounded by these billions and billions and trillions of stars. Feel the universe. Let go. Let yourself move to this place of feeling. Where we're going, we can't be in our mind. Be in your heart and feel the vibration of the universe all around you. Feel, one would say, the unified field, the field that connects everything together through all time, space, dimension. Feel this field as it holds you, supports you, nurtures you, as you're beautifully supported in the essence of your consciousness. There's no form. There's just you in your awareness. You in your awareness floating in the universe. And one could say or imagine, one would say the lights get turned down a little bit here. So you're just in this beautiful void, this beautiful potential of all and everything. One could say the formless substance, the potentials of all of creation. You as this beautiful divine being. Allow yourself to just rest in this space, completely supported by the unified field, the universe, the love of divine, in this space of complete potentials. You can create anything that you desire. You know this because the universe is consciousness. You are consciousness. Look at the infinite creations of universe. And you're a part of the universe. So you're also an infinite creator. And just allow yourself to breathe in, expand, feel yourself in the field of infinite possibilities. Feel the light of you, feel even lighter, even more expansive. And as you feel this, just start to live that ideal end experience. Whatever it is that you need some help with, live the end experience. Feel the joy, feel the excitement, feel the appreciation, feel the love, feel the expansiveness, feel the empowerment. Allow yourself to live the ideal end result like you're already there. It already happened yesterday, today. And I'm going to be quiet just for a few moments as you just live this. Tap into all of the emotions. Feel excited. Feel proud. Mm. Mm. And as you just enjoy the end result, enjoy it, soak it in, live it. Mm. Bask in your greatness. Bask in all that you need. Feel the light of you expand. As you're immersed in this field of infinite possibilities, you got this. Your soul has your back. The universe has your back. Just live this ideal end experience. Your body feels it. Your body entrains to this vibration. You embody this vibration, this success, this beautiful end result. You as this divine being bring it into experience in your higher levels, in your higher dimensional realms instantly, and you bring the solutions in. You don't need to know all the details, just live the end result. Feel the expansiveness of this. Feel the joy, feel the appreciation, feel the gratitude. And as you feel yourself in this end experience, you live it. It becomes your new reality. The universe is going to conspire to help you. It's going to bring in people, places, results, teachers, information, whatever's necessary. Sometimes the solutions come forward in ways that you anticipate, but sometimes they come in ways that you hadn't even anticipated. And those are even more exciting, even more expansive. They kind of knock your socks off. Yes. From this beautiful place, take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, allow that part of your awareness, your consciousness that's chosen to be physically embodied. Allow that part to come down to the room. Come down and move 100% into your physical body. Start to feel your beautiful physical body, your physical vehicle. It's the perfect vehicle for you to have all of your experiences in this lifetime. Give your body some love. And as you give it love, notice how it vibrates even higher. And at the same time, Allow yourself to connect with and feel this beautiful end experience. Live this end experience again. Allow yourself to move into your multidimensionality, the physical and the non-physical. Feel your body. At the same time, live and experience this experience of you, that ideal end result. You got this. Your soul has your back. The universe has your back. You got this. And be in a place of expectation of the solutions come forward to help you to bring that manifestation into place. Take another nice deep breath in. As you breathe out, allow yourself to again be 100% connected to your physical body. Move 100% embodied. Feel the gravity, feel Mother Earth. Send your love to Mother Earth. Feel and connect with Mother Earth. Ground yourself with Mother Earth. Feel her love come back to you. Send that taproot into Mother Earth. Feel that grounding. At the same time, feel your beautiful body. At the same time, feel this beautiful end experience that you've just gone through, experiencing the end result. Feel that. Open yourself up to your multidimensionality. You got this. From this beautiful place, take another nice deep breath in. And as you breathe out, slowly open your eyes. And just allow yourself to check in. How do you feel now?
I want to go back.
This is you
Oh, wow.
remembering your multidimensionality.
Wow.
So why wouldn't you feel this way?
Wow. That was absolutely incredible. Paul, you are incredible.
So
Thank you. Thank you for walking this path. Thank you for co-creating in this lifetime with me and all of the other people walking this earth at this time, for all of your magic and all of your wisdom. You are doing incredible things. You are so loved and so appreciated. And it's been such an honor to have you on this show. I have so deeply enjoyed all of this, and I know that our listeners will be feeling the same as well. You probably hear it in my voice how zen I am. Like, how do you just come back from that? Oh my gosh, that was incredible. I am going to wrap this up, Paul, but I have one last question for you. And to you, what is the meaning of life?
To be in service. To be able to learn, grow, and then help others as we do this beautiful journey together, like you and I today. Thank you for letting me be here. Thank you for letting me share. Thank you for being in your greatness and your beautiful wisdom, divine feminine, the power of you changing things, letting go, breaking down, breaking the laws, breaking the rules. Make it happen. We need you, we need me, we need me, all of the people to shine our unique colors to create this beautiful rainbow of light.
Paul, you've been incredible to have on the show. Likewise. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you love the Enlightened podcast, and the biggest compliment you can give me is subscribing to this podcast, sharing it, and leaving a rating and review. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. My handle is @JenHamiltonOfficial, and the podcast handle is Enlightened_podcast. You can also find the video version on YouTube on my channel. Just search Enlightened and don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a beautiful day and enjoy living the enlightened journey of life.